well, allegedly, it's not a lot of people covering the Brett Favre situation, and I've been seeing a lot of people accuse other news headlines taking credit away from this, and taking coverage away from this, like the
Well,
made
Fox
dope
Sports
and
One
stuff.
is on his ass. Fox Sports One been on his ass the whole time. I've been hearing
Yeah.
a lot of people complaining about ESPN. I don't watch that much ESPN. All the morning shows I watch, like First Things First, Undisputed, stuff like that,
FS1.
those are all FS1. And they been on his ass.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I still see it, but I do think it haven't been getting the same. I do think if it was other people that the public liked not as much, it might get a little bit more segues. But for people who don't know, Brett Favre haven't been criminally charged or nothing. And
Right.
he maintains that he didn't know the funds that he was receiving were being taken from a Mississippi welfare program.
Lying like a motherfucker.
We know he lying.
Like
And it's
a
actually
motherfucker.
factual that he lying because there's a damning text message over here. August the 3rd, 2017, when he's asking this lady, Nancy New, one of the founders of a nonprofit organization that was funneling money from Mississippi's Department of Human Resources, which is for welfare. She was getting money from them, and Brett Favre was asking for money from her. In 2017, he sends out a message, quote, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much?" End quote.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. Imagine saying one thing.
That's crazy.
That's pretty damning. So we know two things. We know this shit happened, and we know that nigga be lying.
That nigga be.
Brett
But
Favre-
I've always had an issue with Brett Favre. He always
You
on
know
some
what?
racist shit.
It's crazy you said that because I've heard a couple people since this came out say that Brett Favre, they've been questioning the personality of Brett Favre.
For sure.
People
For
love
sure.
Brett Favre. The Wrangler
That's true too. Some
jeans
people
and
do love Brett
the
Favre.
copper fit shit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but I mean, when I heard this, I said, "Oh, this right up his alley," because
Yeah.
I've always seen Brett Favre to be that racist guy. So this shit didn't strike me as. It struck me as, damn, that's fucked up, but it never struck me as, damn, how could this happen? Or
Yeah.
Brett, not really Brett Favre. Like, nah, this I've always seen Brett Favre when I heard this story.
In the back of my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, I knew he wasn't as perfect as people were trying to make him out to be.
Right.
When I heard about how he treated Aaron Rodgers, who was definitely there to replace him, he didn't want to have nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers when he came in there. He knew what that dude represented. But that's neither here nor there. I want people that don't know what was happening here to know what's happening here. That number one, he hasn't been criminally charged for nothing. You can imagine this is
He
something,
probably not gonna be.
You can imagine this is something people would go to jail for.
Yeah, if you black.
They have a $5 million new facility at the University of Southern Mississippi.
Funded by this bullshit.
Funded by this.
But bro, that shit is not, bro. They not doing nothing about it. Nothing.
Well, what I do know
Which is
so,
why you hear that shit about it being silenced or pushed to the background type shit. That
Yeah.
you think they're just doing that just because?
there's a lawsuit going on. So it turns out that the whistleblower in this situation was the former mayor or the former governor that he was getting money from, that was actually approving the funds. So what happened?
How he end up being a whistleblower though?
So what exactly happened was this: Executive John Davis, he worked for, he was an executive for the Mississippi Department of Human Services, and he pled guilty to conspiracy of theft of federal funds. He's facing sentencing on February the 2nd next year.
And so he just gave niggas up.
He was the one. No. It wasn't him. He was the one that was approving the funds to go to two nonprofit organizations that were embezzling money. One of them was I didn't write the name down. The name wasn't important because it was false. It was two. There were two nonprofit organizations that were embezzling funds. These guys. So you got John Davis with the with the Department of Human Services, and he's giving money to these two nonprofit organizations. You got one of the nonprofit organizations was founded by this woman Nancy New, and more recently, her and her son pled guilty to 13 felony counts involving this case earlier this year.
That's scary, bro.
She was being directly contacted contacted by Brett Favre when he was looking for money to help his daughter's athletics, the volleyball team. And over here at University of Southern Mississippi, where she goes to school, it looks like the numbers say in 2017, Brett Favre, between 2018 and 2020, Brett Favre used a charity called Favre for Hope to funnel over $130K to the University of Southern Mississippi. Now, I'm not sure where the rest of the money came from and when it came, but overall, it looks like they have a $5 million facility that was funded by this.
Okay, so are you familiar with the fact that Brett Favre been caught in these scandals previously?
Nah.
With like taking payments for speeches that he didn't do?
Yeah.
And shit at colleges?
Actually, I remember hearing that story. That's related to this case. Back in 2017 and 2018, he received payments from the organization that Nancy New founded for $500K and $600K to himself for some appearances that he didn't make and speeches that he didn't make.
Right.
Now, Brett Favre maintains that he did commercials for these organizations, and that's what the money he got was for. But some tell me, since we know he be lying, that's an attempt to save face.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Hey, fact. This is not my opinion.
That's crazy.
Brett Favre be lying.
Brett Favre ain't shit.
Man.
Brett Favre
that's
ain't
crazy.
shit.
I want to point out that Mississippi is the
poorest state in the country.
In the nation.
The poorest state in the
country. Which means that the
Mississippi
welfare program would be targeting people who are essentially the poorest people in our
country.
World,
in the country, yeah.
And that's who this guy decided to take money from to put in his pockets and to fill the lines of a volleyball team for his daughter.
That nigga's sick, bro.
You ever heard of privilege?
And his daughter probably sorry as hell for real. She probably sorry as hell for real, and that's why he trying to overcompensate on some shit.
Hey, look, before we cut this off, I found something else you was gonna find interesting. Apparently that was not the only use that he had for these funds. Okay. So in 2019, text messages to the governor at the time, who I guess was at the top approving these funds, to John Davis. The governor at the top, Governor Bryant, was getting text messages from Brett Favre after they had started this investigation, and Brett Favre is pushing him to approve more funds for a project that can only be described as collusion. Brett Favre was in talks to recruit Deion Sanders' son to go to the University of Southern Mississippi, and Deion Sanders' son wanted to know about the facilities. Brett Favre guaranteed that he could secure the funds to build an indoor football facility by the time he got to the school 2 years later. Deion Sanders' son. Yeah. So not only was he taking money for his child and the school she was going to, he was taking money in order to recruit a football player to come play for the school that he was supporting. And from the poorest people in the country.
And I'm pretty sure if Buddy if Deion Sanders' son talked to his dad about the situation, I'm pretty sure, especially with Deion being a part of the college football program now and seeing how money is moved around in that specific space, I'm pretty sure when his son told him that, he had questions too, like, well, how he gonna do that in 2 years? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like, where he gonna get that money from? And
I don't have no information on here as far as his side of the story. I don't even know if he committed. I don't even know how many times he spoke to Brett Favre.
Nah, Deion Sanders' son is at Jackson State now, right?
I don't know.
He with his dad, I believe.
I did know the offer. He wanted to. The first thing he wanted was a new indoor football facility. Now,
Deion Sanders' son, if I'm not mistaken, is the quarterback at Jackson State.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
It sounds like the same one. Now, in April this year, a couple of months ago, Mississippi Today revealed that Brett Favre also received $2.5 million from this fund in order for a pharmaceutical company that he was a major investor in. So a pharmaceutical company that he owned.
Yeah.
2.15 mil. Now, I'm going to say allegedly owned, but as the top investor, you're more than likely the owner. So
majority owner anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what happened was the whistle was blown on him when he was trying to offer Governor Thomas he was trying to offer him stock in that company in exchange for him approving some of the funds. This is what got him caught.
That shit is sick on so many different levels, bro. Like, and the fact that he about to walk away with it, get away with it, and the whole world know, like, he not about to get away with a well-kept secret. Yeah. This nigga is about to get away with this shit, and it's out there for the world to consume. Like,
well, they threw us other news, Ime Udoka, and injuries to other players.
That is wild, for real.
This is crazy, bro. So what we can concur is that, or infer, is that Brett Favre is one of the lowest forms of individuals because he will steal from people.
Bro, say it the right way.
Nothing
Brett
to say.
Favre ain't shit.